We've looked at converting decimals that end into fraction form. We've looked at converting decimals that repeat into fraction form. Now let's look at converting a decimal that begins repeating one or more decimal places after the decimal point instead of repeating immediately after the decimal point. So let's look at the decimal point 0.033 repeating. So as we discussed before, we need to create two equations. One equation with the repeating digits to the right of the decimal point, and an equation with the repeating digits both to the left and to the right of the decimal point. So in order to get our repeating digit 3 immediately after the decimal point, we need to move our decimal point one place, or we need to multiply that decimal by 10. So our first equation is 10x equals 0.33. Our second equation, we need to have that repeating digit on both the left and the right hand side of the decimal point. So in order to do so, we need to multiply that decimal, or move the decimal point twice, or multiply it by 100, giving us our second equation, 100x equals 3.3. Now that we have our two equations, we take our second equation, 100x equals 3.3. We subtract our first equation, 10x equals 0.3, from it, giving us 90x equals 3. Now that 90 is attached to our x, so in order to get x by itself, we need to divide through by 90 on both sides. So now I have a fraction 3/90, which is an equivalent fraction, but it's not in its most simplified form, so we need to further reduce that. Dividing top and bottom by 3, our resulting fraction is 1/30. So the repeating decimal 0.033 has an equivalent fraction of 1/30. Now let's take a look at another repeating fraction, 0.434545. Now as you can see, the repeating digits are 4, 5, and it's not until the third decimal place that they begin repeating. So again, we need to create two equations. The first one being an equation that has the repeating digits immediately to the right of the decimal point. So if I move my decimal place two places, or multiply by 100, I get 100x equals 43.45. Do not forget about the non-repeating digits, the 4 and the 3 in the first two decimal places. Our second equation, we want the repeating digits on both the left and the right hand side of the decimal point. So if I were to move my decimal place 1, 2, 3, 4 decimal places, or multiply that decimal by 10,000, I get my second equation, 10,000x equals 4345.45. Taking the second equation, 10,000x and subtracting the first equation from it, we end up with 9900x equals 4302. To get x by itself, we need to divide both sides through by 9900. And we have our fraction, but it's not in simplest form. If I divide both top and bottom by 18, my resulting final fraction is 239/550. So if we remember that the two equations that we create, one is the repeating digits immediately to the right of the decimal point. The second equation is the repeating digits on both the left and the right hand side of the decimal point. Subtracting the second equation from the first and simplifying gets our decimal into fraction form.